Good evening. I'm the boring academic that he was describing in the beginning. I'm not a full professor because I'm not good enough. I will be the first to admit it. And I don't want any special favors to become full professor just because my name hasn't been in the middle. Thank you very much. I'm not from a kampong background. I'm not from an estate background. I'm very much middle class. I'm from Penang, which also means that I'm not from a single ethnic background. If you come from Penang, and if you don't know how to mix with people from other ethnic groups, then you will never get a girlfriend because the choices are limited. Yes, but even so, I still didn't have a girlfriend, but that's a different story altogether. Well, ladies and gentlemen, frankly, I am bored to death with the talk of race. I have to do it. We have to face it because it's there, but I do it reluctantly. Because in my heart of hearts, I really don't care. I really don't care. When I teach my students, they are my students. I don't care what ethnic background they come from. They are all my students. They are all my responsibilities. They are all equally blurred. I don't care who is my boss. You know, you are a good boss or you are a bad boss. I don't care who runs a company. You run it efficiently and fairly, or you don't run it efficiently or fairly. I don't care who is prime minister. Incidentally, anybody can be prime minister. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. There's nothing in our constitution that limits who is prime minister. I mean, Tony can be prime minister, as far as I was going to ask. I wouldn't like Tony to be prime minister, not because of his ethnicity, but because he is a graduate of Oxford. And I don't trust graduates from Oxford because they're very chummy with one another. Look at him and Kyrie, the best of pals. They cannot be trusted. So, so my problem with Tony as a prime minister is nothing to do with his ethnicity, but his poor choice of university. I am a Malaysia child. I was born, despite my age, thank you very much, I was born after 1963. In fact, I was born in a time when Malaysia is Malaysia as we have it today. After Singapore was expelled. Right? So I'm completely and utterly a Malaysian child, a child of Malaysia. And unity is what we need. But what do we mean by unity? What do we mean by unity? Unity does not mean same. Yeah, it does not mean summer. All right, there has to be differences. There has to be differences in ideology, in politics. We need differences. We cannot be the same. And I don't want to be the same. Okay, I do not want to be the same. I do not want to be the same as Mahathir Mohamad. I don't want to be the same as Ibrahim Ali. I don't want to be the same as all these people. Please, believe. Right? So, so what does unity mean then? Unity, I think, in terms of nation building, simply means that we all have the strength of conviction that every single one of us belongs here. That's what unity means. And in order to achieve this unity, there has to be a national ethos. Yes? And a basic understanding of certain ground rules, which we all share. And what are these ground rules? Well, I think a lot of it's already there in our constitution. It's just that our constitution has been severely and badly misinterpreted and abused. All right? So the first thing is that we must have a national ethos that we do not tolerate racism at all. Okay? And it's not good enough to just talk about it. It's not good enough to pay an Israeli company to come up with a slogan. What we need is to do it. But I do not see any strength of leadership amongst the current crop of leaders to actually do it. To actually walk the walk, not just talk the talk. You see, you can talk about One Malaysia until the cows come home. Right? But until you have the guts to say, listen, that group is a racist group and I do not agree with them at all. Unless you have the guts to do that, then what you're doing is you're legitimizing that group. You give them power and authority to say that, hey, the leaders don't mind us. So what we are saying, what we believe is okay. That's what's happening now. And we've had dozens of years where this kind of thinking has permeated our society to such an extent, right, that we actually have teachers saying what they say, which is shameful. Now, let me go back to this idea of a national ethos. Like I said, you know, my fellow speakers spoke about your rights to religion and all the rest. These things are guaranteed. They're just not respected. You know? Hannah spoke about housing. Did you speak about housing? You did, didn't you? Who spoke about housing? Wing Sun, sorry. How could I mix up Wing Sun and Hannah? My goodness. I'm sorry, Hannah. Yeah. Yes. I'm a picture of confusion. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, we look at it, and I mean, kudos to Nur Izzah recently for raising this issue and raising it fairly intelligently. Yeah, the matters of the question of the constitution and Malay special position. There's no such thing as Malay rights. It's not in the constitution, and the word rights, Malay rights, does not exist in the constitution. It's special position, special position for Malays and natives of Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, and you know, this has become a source of contention. This has become a source of contention. But the reason why it's become a source of contention is because it has been disrespected. The actual provision itself has been misinterpreted and disrespected. All right? Because if you look at it very closely, what it does is it doesn't give special rights to an ethnic group. What 153 does is basically to give permission to the government to take affirmative action measures. That's what it does. Because the ethos of the Constitution is equality under Article 8. All of us are equal, except in very specific situations which can only be done if the Constitution says it can be done. Right? So, you understand what I'm saying? The basic philosophy is we're equal. But the Constitution does allow certain situations where an unequal treatment can be given, which is affirmative action. But that affirmative action is limited to what is in the Constitution. It's not open-ended. And it has to be reasonable. That means it can be debated. Because how can you determine whether something is reasonable or not if you do not have the data and if you do not debate the data? Right? So, if you look at 153 specifically, clearly, right, where can you have affirmative action? You can set quotas for civil service, for education, and for permits. Trade permits. Nowhere does it say that you can get special discounts for luxury houses. Nowhere. I'm not being seditious. I'm just stating what is in the Constitution. Yes. Nowhere does it say that. Nowhere does it say, right, that certain contracts must only be given to one ethnic group. Nowhere does it say that in the Constitution. Right? So, if I cannot tell you that you're not following the Constitution, how can I be seditious? I'm not the one who's being seditious. Who's disrespecting the Constitution? Not me. All right, we've only been given 10 minutes, and I think 10 minutes is almost up. So I just want to say one last thing. Yes, it's true. We need to have a sense of belonging, all of us. And it's very difficult to have a sense of belonging when there's so much nastiness and viciousness and cruel things being said today. The first thing we have to realize is we have to be honest with ourselves too. I mean, really, when you look at me, do you just see a strange-looking man speaking a lot of sense, or do you see a Malay man? Well, you've got to stop. If you see a Malay man, then you've got to stop. And you've got to just see an elderly but fit man speaking about all sorts of things. And that's how I look at you. Right? I mean, that's the first step. We've got to be honest with ourselves. All of us, we have to be honest with ourselves. If you have a business and someone who's not from an ethnic group comes to apply for a job, how do you treat him or her? Be honest with ourselves. All of us, we have that responsibility. But having said that, of course, I understand. The mainstream is that it is one way. Yeah? The racism is one way. That's what it looks like in the mainstream. Okay, and these are the people who are given time in Utusan Malaysia and other similar rags. So what do we have to do? The first thing we have to do is that. The second thing we have to do is to have pride and strength. We know we are Malaysian. We belong here. No idiot bigot can tell us we don't belong here. So it's not good enough to say, oh, I feel so sad, I feel as if I don't have a sense of belonging. No, I belong, and no one's going to tell me otherwise. That's what we've got to do. Thank you very much.